So we're in Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is all about equations, learning to solve or reviewing how to solve. The first part of this is translating sentences into equations. I'll do the first one with you, and then I want you to try to do the others, and we'll check your work. So translating is just turning it into an equation, and for these you always want to find the word is, because that's always where your equal sign is. So now we've got half of this figured out. We know what equal. We know the two halves, a number b divided by 3. So b divided by 3. But if we're doing this in algebra, I want you to write this as b over 3. Is goes with equal. 6 less than c. 6 is just the number 6. C is just the number c. Less than is a minus, but the than word means that you're going to flip that. So this will be c minus 6. So I want you to try the others of these and then pause the video, try them. There's this page, and then there's another page with another set of problems, and then come back and we'll check your work. So let's see how you did. Did you get B? So 15 more than is plus. Z times 6, if you notice, rather than writing it Z6, I put the coefficient, the 6, in front of the Z. Because normally when we have the product of a letter and a number, we put the variable after and the coefficient goes first. Same thing with the next side, 11 less than y times 2 to y. And then the than word, of course, means that you switch. Okay, the C one is a little bit tricky because we've got 3 less than a number divided by 4 is 7 more than 3 times b. So 3 less than, what are we subtracting? A number divided by 4. And then you switch that because it's got the order switched. All right, this one should have been pretty straightforward for this. Perimeter equals 4s, a equals pi r squared. The next part of this is just basic solving. This is one-step equations. There's really not a whole lot going on with these except just to get the rules out there. Remember, if that you are working with equations, when you add to one side, the addition property of equality says that if we add to one side, we add to the other side. So whatever we put on one side, if I have x plus 3 equals 10, if I take away 3 on one side, this is a subtraction property of equality, then I'm going to take that away from the other side of the equation. The other side is divided at that equal sign. Notice both of these are minus 3, and then we get x equal 7. So you're not adding on one side, subtracting on the other. You're either adding on both sides or you're subtracting on both sides. I'm not mixing those up. So we're going to solve this one by adding. This is h minus 12 equals negative 27. You're going to add 12 to both sides. And what I think about with this is I think, okay, here's my h. What needs to go away? The negative 12 needs to go away. How am I going to make it go away? I'm going to add 12 to it. So that turns into just an h. The equal sign, again, divides the left and right sides. I'm going to add 12 to this side also. So the addition property of equality says what you add to one side, you add to the other. The equal side comes down, and this is negative 15. And then checking your solution works like this. You're going to take your original equation, and I want to see this on your work. So you need to do the work, and then you need to check your work. H is negative 15, so I'm going to replace this h with negative 15. And when I'm done with this, simplifying, the left side should equal the right side. So that's checked. It doesn't take very long to check. Just do a little bit at a time. The next one is solving by subtracting. I want you to pause the video and try it yourself. So did you check your work? And also make sure that you added the same thing to both sides or subtracted the same thing to both sides. Multiplication and division works similar to addition and subtraction. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. So if x equals 5, if I multiply this side by 3, then I better multiply the other side by 3 as well. So whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. If I divide both sides by 5, I better divide or one side by 5, I better divide the other side by 5. All right, so this is our first example. I have C right here. What's happening to the C? There's a multiplication going on right there, negative 14 times C. So to undo that, I'm going to divide the C by negative 14, because if I do that, I will get just C on this side. But what you do to one side, you do to the other side. So this is now negative 32 over 14. But you need to remember to reduce. So if C equals negative 32 over 14, the complete answer, reduced, is negative 16 over 7. You can leave it improper. You don't have to turn it to mix or decimal. I don't want to see decimal, especially on something like this, because if you do decimal, it will be a repeating decimal or continue on forever. All right, I want you to try B and C, but on B, I want you to take care because you have to turn this mixed fraction into an improper fraction before you do anything. So algebra, we work with improper, and that's it with fractions. All right, check your answer on C. Did you get 5? And then did you check your work? B, I left it like it is because I want to work through this with you because I'm betting that some of you had problems with this. So here's the K. If I have a number in front of the K that's a fraction, I can get rid of the 8 on the bottom by multiplying by 8, because 8 divided by 8 equals 1. I can get rid of the 11 on top by dividing by 11, because 11 divided by 11 equals 1. There's a negative right there. I don't want this to stay negative. I want this to be just a positive K when I'm done. So I'm going to multiply by a negative 1. So I've multiplied this by the reciprocal because negative 8 over 11 times negative 11 over 8 equals 1. So if you have a fraction in front that's improper in front of the letter, you just flip it over, take the reciprocal. This time I multiplied by a negative because I want a positive 1 when I'm done. But what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So this is multiplied by negative 8 over 11. So this turns into just K equals negative 2 times negative 8 is a negative 16. 3 over 11 is 33. So there's the answer. If you have a fraction in front, an improper fraction, just multiply by its reciprocal and it goes away, but you have to do the same thing to the other side. All right, and then the word problems. Ricardo's driving 780 miles to Memphis. He drove about 3/5 of the distance on the first day. So we want to know how many miles he drove. So this is the first day, and I diagram these out. The first day, he drove 3/5 of the distance. And then the distance is 780 miles. Of goes with multiplication, so we want to know what 3/5 of 780 equals. And that'll be his day 1 distance. Multiply that out and you get 468 miles would be 3/5. Whoops, missed a little I. All right, you try this one. All right, so the rate is 5 gallons for 1 minute. We want to fill 2,400 gallons. So I'm either going to be multiplying or dividing by this 5. So I'm going to do kind of a precursor into literal equations. I want to take 24 gallons and I want to end up with the number of hours over here. So if I divide this by 5, it's the same as multiplying times 1/5, right? And 5 gallons for 1 minute. So if I just divide that, I end up with 480 minutes. And then if I want to convert minutes to hours, I've got to divide that by 60. So this is what it looks like. 480 minutes. There's 1 hour for 60 minutes. So if I divide 480 by 60, I end up with 8 hours of fill time. So today's lesson is all about a little bit of word problems, solving equations just with one step, and then that's it.